Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Brian. I'm the host of the Left of Greg show. You're going to be watching the video version of our audio podcast. Please, guys, if you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel. There's going to be more content on there if you're already a subscriber, and a better way for us to get you guys some more stuff. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them below. Check out our links down below to get a hold of us and to actually find out more places where you can get more information about this. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook at HBPRNA. Remember, all these cases that we discuss and all these discussions that we have are through the lenses of what we call human behavior, pattern recognition, and analysis. So please like it, share it, tell your friends about it, and we hope you enjoy the show. Thanks. All right, Greg, we will go ahead and get started for today. This is the first time we will also be live streaming to Facebook. Whether or not people are going to be watching or chiming in, I don't know. I don't care. We're still recording this like a normal pod. For anyone who's listening to this, we kind of going to do this sometimes every once in a while. If you're following us on Facebook, is live stream it. But today, not our typical Friday topic, I guess. Today, we're going to be talking about obviously something that's been in the news a lot is the killing, the homicide of Ahmaud Arbery down in Georgia, down in Brunswick, Georgia, that took place a couple months ago, but kind of just came to light here in the last week or so. So, Greg, did you want to go over something before we jump into the case?
Real quick, obviously, because we're live, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's great to see you. So when I had to go to town today, these are the masks that I made. This one's red if you don't have color. And if you're not watching on video, I'm holding up a COVID mask red that I made. Remember everyone deployed. It's also National Police Week, and today's devoted to the memory of current and former coppers that served nationally, and specifically those that died. And just a shout out to Marin. Marin's show does a great job with it. We don't prepare specifically for the Friday broadcast. So until he sent the invite and said, hey, this is the caper we're going to talk about, so I have no preconceived notions of the case. We didn't study up on the case. Brian will review it, and then we'll just dive right in.
So here's I'm just going to go over the basic facts of the case for anyone who isn't familiar with it. But basically what you had is back on February 23rd in Brunswick, Georgia, Ahmaud Arbery, 25-year-old guy, is walking around the neighborhood, is basically seen by a couple other individuals, Gregory McMichael and his son, Travis McMichael. They see him coming in and out of a home that is under construction, so an unoccupied home. They think that they believe that he is attempting to rob the place. So he leaves, Mr. Arbery leaves. And what I kind of want to read it from the actual report here is what Gregory McMichael and his son basically began to pursue him. And they said he was what they call hauling ass down the street. And then a third man, a guy by the name of William Bryant, also followed along in his vehicle and tried to block him, Mr. Arbery, during the pursuit as well. So basically, Gregory McMichael told the police he thought Arbery was a burglar who had recently been targeting the neighborhood. McMichael told police that they were, when they caught up with Mr. Arbery, that he attacked Travis McMichael, the guy who showed up with a gun, and then Travis then fired his weapon in self-defense. So basically what happened is Mr. Arbery is chased by these men. They attempt to detain him. They attempt to arrest him, right? And then in this ensuing scuffle, Mr. Arbery is shot and fatally killed. Those are the basic details of the case. So now there's a lot more that happened after that in terms of why it wasn't immediately prosecuted, why they weren't arrested and everything. And there's a lot that goes into it. We will probably get into some of that, but I want to just stick with what just happened right there, Greg, and how we articulate that. And I kind of want to be clear on this too. And I'll go first on where I stand reading the facts of the case and the police report that I could get to. It's always hard when it's a big national story because you got to filter through all the crap that's just click and paste that every news agency does. Usually when we're not as well-known stories, it's actually easier sometimes to filter through that. But just sticking with what happened, I would say that the two gentlemen that killed Mr. Arbery had absolutely no right to chase him, to impede his travel, to detain him or arrest him. They had no right to do that, whether or not Mr. Arbery did in fact commit a crime. And they clearly, I would say, are at fault for what happened and should be prosecuted for homicide. That's where I would stand on this, just reading the facts of the case, right? Just going off of what I saw, that their actions were illegal, and Mr. Arbery was likely defending himself from what he thought was some type of attack. But maybe that might not be as clear as it is to me as it is to some people. I don't know. There's a lot of different opinions going around. This is where a lot of people like to inflate the case and highlight it as whatever issue they're trying to push. So I'd kind of like to throw to you first, Greg, and then we'll kind of go through the story as the conversation evolves, if that works.
Yeah. So I got a prop, and the prop that I'm going to try out for the very first time, and I certainly hope that it illustrates my part in the case.
Oh, geez.
And what it is that this is the hat that I'm going to wear when a story smells so bad that it's shit, and that anybody that touches it is going to get shit on their hand and need to wash their hands. So enough with the dramatics. And
But
you have no idea how hard I had to find that gosh darn prop, because I couldn't find a clown makeup in time with the red flipping nose, Brian.
So first off, I love the hat. I think that can be
Thank
used
you.
in a number of situations and capers. Maybe we'll.
Oh, that I touched. Yeah.
That's going to be a recurring theme. You should keep that near the computer, because I think during during when we come up with certain questions that we know are completely ridiculous and someone's being a complete ass, maybe you can
just hold it up,
put that on,
Marion. You're spot
and go,
on.
let me answer the question. So anyway,
so you know, I'm a lot like Peter Griffin, right? So
yeah, more than people realize.
Thank you. So instead of hungry hippo today, I'm angry Homer Simpson, or angry Peter Griffin. And what grinds my gears, Brian, is I want to back up to what you said. You used facts just a minute ago, but when you were telling the story that was going on, you never used the word facts. You didn't say this is the facts of the case. You said this is what's being reported, and then you used some other.
Well, I try to get what was in the police report.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is being reported. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to straighten out just one word of lexicon. Okay. If we change the story to the story that mainstream, that Mr. Arbery was jogging. Okay. The difference between jogging and walking and running is huge and changes the entire dynamic of the case. That's one. Number two, the fact of the matter that one of the guys was a former copper with 20 years and knew the defendant or the prosecutor or was this or that is inadmissible to the fact that this was a home site being built, and therefore it was a property crime. And if Mr. Arbery was committing a crime, if he was committing any crime, if he was committing flippant trespassing, it's not a death sentence. We are a nation of laws, and there is no way that you can take this quantum leap of logic, even if he was a burglar that was prior convicted of burglary, that was stealing on that day, it's not a death sentence. We have a thing in this country called due process, and people should be ashamed at what they're thinking, saying, and writing right now, because here, Mr. Arbery was not given due process, and he died because of the actions of another. That's my starting volley, Brian.
Yeah, and that's a good. I think that, and that's why I said what I did starting off. So just so anyone, right off the bat knew what angle I'm coming from in this, because it's important to understand that going forward and what we're going to talk about, because you hit on what some people discuss as, oh, he had a past, criminal record. He had this, which everyone thinks pertains to the case, but it doesn't. It's like,
nope.
I mean, there's a ton of different examples of this, but that had nothing to do with what happened in this situation. You just have to look at what occurred in this situation, and that's why I kind of stuck with, well, what's been proven. Like, we know Mr. Arbery walked into this house because there's a film of him doing that. There's a recording of him doing that. So at most, he was trespassing at most, right, during that, because nothing else occurred. So.
And we don't even know that, because we don't know if a landscape architect recently said, yeah, if you want to pick up some of those 2x4s, anything under 6 inches, we ain't going to use anyway. We don't know that.
We don't know it. Yeah. but
we are supposing certain things, right?
right,
But again, quantum leap of logic. I'm with you, Brian. I'm not
but
disagreeing with
no. And that's a perfect point, because you don't know why he was in there, what he was doing, or maybe it had same thing. Hey, we're going to need a laborer to come clean up, go check out the house or whatever, or something. You have no idea.
Maybe
You're
you
just
wanted to
in,
buy a house.
yeah.
Maybe you wanted to check the floor plan of the house when it was for sale.
So no matter what was going on there,
Exactly.
at no point. So here's the thing. So let's fast forward to, or let's go to the point where these gentlemen, whether or not they had knew him from previous or knew anything about him or
Or
didn't
had
know him,
nefarious intent
yeah,
and they started or not. I agree with that.
saw him and said, "Hey, we think this is going on. So
Yep.
we think this guy's robbing the place."
Yep.
So right there, they then
Get your
attempted
gun
to,
and get
yep,
into a vehicle.
and
That's the
started,
first thing you do, right?
yeah. So they started pursuing him. So I want to stop right there and say, what's wrong with this picture already before we
So
even get to what occurred.
I got more
So
props.
because here's the thing, Greg. I'm sitting at my house. I walk out on my
Yep.
porch and I look over and I see a person I don't know, or I do know, walking away or
Yep.
jogging away from a home down the street. Um, what do I now have the right to grab my guns, get in the truck, and go after him? Like what is? You're holding
Here
two
are
phones.
my
You're
props.
holding
So
two
for those
phones,
people,
not one
okay.
but two.
So I'm scared of everything, Marin. And you know
Terrified.
that I walk around with my cell phone, the shoe phone, and I dial 911 and my thumb is hovering over the other one all day long. I don't care if you like police or hate police. I don't care if you had a good time with them or a bad time with them in the past. I don't care if you've been pulled over and because you got your sister-in-law got a DUI, you hate cops. I don't care. But escalating this situation by any means other than being a really good witness,
Right.
Brian, if somebody's coming in my house, we got a whole new deck, a whole new hand that was dealt to us. We're talking about you made the assumption, the observation that you're looking off your deck and you see somebody leaving a situation in a high speed on foot. So for whatever reason, your attention is drawn to this person because you're periph and you see vision and motion. And so now you go, hey, I wonder if that person committed a crime. Maybe you hear a car alarm. Maybe you heard somebody scream. Maybe you heard glass break. I don't care. But I don't want to conflate the case. But if you're suspicious at all, okay, maybe you arm yourself in your house and go into your bathroom and grab the phone. That's okay. Yeah, you got every right to do that. But grabbing your gun and going outside of your domicile, outside of your residence, outside of the confines of your compound is ridiculous. One, okay, that's not defense. That's an offensive strategy.
Right.
And the second thing is, if you were chasing me, I don't care what I just did. I don't care if I littered and I felt it was wrong and so I ran from it. If you're chasing me with two other guys in a vehicle, and
Yeah.
I see a long gun, which is in the record, Brian. One of the
Yeah. It was
weapons
in
was
it.
a
Yeah.
shotgun, right? So if I see that, what would a reasonable person do in those circumstances? I'd run my ass off,
I would.
and I got a
I would
big
run.
ass.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
No. No.
let's put that on the record as well.
No. And that's and so let's just go right into it there, because then what people are going to say, what people are saying. So the idea is on their defense.
We're now on the fishing channel, folks.
Yeah.
It's Bubba Marin.
So, but here's the thing is that what people say is they are going to, because this is what one of the district attorneys who was recused from the case or stepped down said, they do have some legal ground to stand on, which I would vehemently disagree with. I would vehemently disagree with, right? Because
exactly
what they said is, there's a citizen arrest law, right? There's a few different ones because they're saying what the DA said after stepping down is said the father and son had solid firsthand probable cause as civilians to detain him. They apparently sought only to stop and hold this criminal suspect until law enforcement arrived. Then he brought up Arbery's mental health records and prior convictions, which means nothing. McMichael was allowed to use deadly force to protect himself, and Arbery may have shot himself while fighting for the shotgun. So first of all, it's junk. That's
no.
like,
What I'm saying, Brian, is this is actually a good defensive strategy. And remember, we're calling defense now because these guys have been arrested for a homicide. Next time, folks, that you're in trouble, this is a joke. Don't do it. Next time that you're in trouble, take an unloaded gun and throw it to a person. And when they catch it, you kill them and say, oh, yeah, they escalated the situation beyond my means. Brian, what? Okay, first of all, let's go back to a law called stand your ground that applies in the state of Georgia.
Well, this,
What's that first word? The first word is
yeah,
stand.
yeah.
So driving to a scene, moving from a location.
Automatically negates that, right?
Okay. So then the second part is detaining. Okay. So let's put this in the context of a shoplifter. You're in Walmart, you see somebody shoplifting goods. They take something from a store shelf, they attempt to conceal it. You think that they're going to try to go outside of the store. Okay. No matter if it's a pair of tennis shoes or if it's a clock radio or if it's a flippin' plasma TV, don't know how you'd conceal it. If you say, stop, citizen's arrest, you can't go any further. And the person continues walking. Your level of force, if any, is applicable, which almost never is. Your level of force to stop the person might be standing in front of them, blocking their path. Might be while the security is coming, dialing 911. If the security guard is in a fight for their life and it's a felony and you jump in and assist them, that's okay. You're not acting as an agent of police. You're acting as a concerned citizen to make sure things don't get out of control. Brian, none of those occurred. None of those occurred. They showed up with guns. Yeah. The guy fought back for his life, and then they killed him.
As anyone would. But here's the thing. Because I looked into Georgia's citizen arrest law, right? And what it says is a private person, so a citizen may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. That's what the law says. And then it says, if the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion. So this gets into a whole nother area, but I wanted to look it up because this is from Georgia, right? This is citizen, and when they cover citizens arrest, they say, as a private citizen, you have no authority to arrest anyone without a warrant or with a warrant. Without a warrant, you may arrest anyone who commits a misdemeanor felony presence with immediate knowledge. So it says, because it goes on to explain it just a little bit, right? A citizen's arrest occurs when a citizen prevents a suspect from leaving a scene. So that's which is your perfect example of the shoplifting, right? So shoplifting is a perfect one. So if I'm the owner of a store and someone tries to steal something, I can legally detain them. If I saw them steal something, I can not let them leave the store, right? I can do that.
But why are those? And I hate to interrupt you on this, Brian, and I'm only getting passionate because I don't want to throw a red herring out there. Why were those laws designed and when? With all of the motion capture and closed caption television and crime scene forensics and all that other stuff,
and better communication and faster response time now, this all predates that, right?
But it's still a law, so we have to respect it.
Yeah.
But the law was that, look, it's likely if this person leaves, I'll never find them again. It's likely if this person leaves, they'll destroy evidence and muck up the subsequent prosecution. We don't have that situation. And I want to touch on something you said. Rarely do Brian and I disagree, folks. We disagree on everything. But the idea is that generally we're all in the same arena, to use Andy's word. But we're fighting under different auspices. And I'll give you this example. So when we take a look at this situation and we take a look at the type of crime that was committed and the type of response that was committed to it, what did the people know and what could they have done? And then some people say, hey, this guy had 20 years as a cop, so he knew different things. Okay. So if I knew this guy was a prior criminal, if I knew he was a deranged, if I knew he was a mentally incapacitated or had a mental issue or all those other stuff, that's all stuff that would go on reasonable suspicion or probable cause on the yellow pad. But it's all the more reason, NAACP, ACLU, call me. I'd love to testify. And look, if you're a cop and you're right now going, hey, bite me, just like a comment I read this morning where somebody came off the top rope and slammed somebody else that made a comment. Free and open discourse. You have the right to disagree with me, but you might want to grab your Constitution before you do. All the more reason, Brian, knowing that this person had committed previous crimes and might be the right guy, to call the police and say, my son and I have a pair of binos, and we're watching him. He's westbound on Fifth Street.
And
So if you go after him, you're asking for trouble.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it things that they're trying to put
Whoops.
in as some sort of defense or a reason to explain their actions
Yep.
are more reasons to not do what they did, right?
Because it has to be
right.
a prudent person. It has to be a normal, regular person, one of your peers. And when I say normal and I say regular, I'm talking about a legal standard. I'm not trying to draw an opinion on somebody. I don't care if you're a cross-dressing wino from Kansas. None of that stuff matters. What it is if you're human and if you have senses and you sense that this same thing would happen and another reasonable person would do it, then guess what? It's logical, it's normal, it's going to be reasonable, and the court's going to accept it. So all of the things that you put in afterwards, Brian, and that's what I'm seeing here, is all, like for example, I recused myself. Johnson recused herself. Why? Because the guy worked at her office for 20 years. What does that mean? Well, that means that she can't be unbiased. So therefore, if and remember, folks, I'm coming to this case like 15 minutes before the broadcast. But Brian, you said it at the very beginning of the broadcast. This caper started in February. So all of that legal wrangling that happened back there wouldn't have happened on a normal case. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So all of a sudden, this case has to be extraordinary, or it would have already been there would have already been a shooting team assigned. There would have already been somebody from this and that, and somebody's going to have you believe that the citizen said justice for this, because I know the caper was at the forefront of the news since February. MSNBC covered it, this, that, the other. You couldn't pass the gosh damn thing without seeing photos and everything else. So why didn't anybody act? Why wasn't there a grand jury? Well, because they knew this case stunk. They knew that something was wrong with this caper. And so they wanted to kind of quietly let a little bit of time and distance go by and then get a little bit of water under the bridge before they did anything. Why weren't these guys arrested? Why weren't they fingerprinted? Why weren't they handcuffed? Any other situation, and stop with the race. Any other situation with any other people involved in this would have done the same thing. If this was, you remember that, what's that gosh damn Star Trek episode where they went to the planet and half the people had black on one side and white on the other and white on the other, and it was from Jonathan Swift, the big Indians and the little Indians? Put that mask on. Look at this caper, take color away, take everything else away, and now say that it's your son or daughter that for whatever reason went to that house, Brian.
Yeah.
And when they came out of the house now, a band of locals, 3 is a band in my term, chased them down. Brian, it stinks. That stinks. And I don't care what the mens rea of our decedent was at the time. He was being chased by 3 guys in cars with guns. 3 guys in a pickup truck with a gun. Holy crap, I would have run. I would have run and I would have fought if they would have stopped me.
No, I know. And that it seems so obvious to me now because, well, I think, one, everyone's going to sensationalize a story for different reasons. There's a number of reasons, like you explained, why things took so long to take a rest. Part of it, honestly, too, was the coronavirus pandemic that has everything on lockdown and no one can go anywhere and do, like, there's a
reasonable
lot of
argument.
Yeah, reasons why. Then it turned into, how are we going to handle this case? Hey, I know this guy and this guy. I can't be a part of it. Okay, well, we got to get someone else. Like, that stuff all takes time. And what it is the same. People are I don't want to get into what everyone's trying to make this into, because I think it muddies the waters and takes away from the actual facts of the case and the conversation, and unnecessary. Right. This is a case that is so simple, cut and dry to me that how could anyone not see it for what it is? But I've seen some interesting comments and people talking about it. And one person, I got to read it to you. This is another, you can put your hat on now, because we talked about, some of it said, several dynamics are at work here. Arbery is a criminal past, which includes being in possession of a firearm illegally. Okay, so if this guy who killed him knew that's again goes to not why they did it, why they shouldn't have got involved. I think it's a better argument for why they shouldn't have inserted themselves in the situation.
Yep.
Like, Michael was investigators involved in that prosecution. So, meaning he had prior knowledge of subject, he can articulate the presence of a threat from prior contact or behavior will be a mitigating factor. All right. This will also play into the hunting or laying in wait aspect of the prosecutions. I will tell you this. There are people who, if I saw approaching my house, I would shoot on sight.
There you go. That's legal.
These are people who have made threats against me, have attacked me in the course and scope of my duties. And
I want to attack you just by listening to this.
Yeah. I'm not going to prejudge this. You already did. I think there will be more information to come out. On the surface, it does not look like a justifiable homicide, correct? But if I was not there, so I'll withhold my opinion. This is some of the stuff that people
I'll withhold my opinion, except for all the shit that you just read that he wrote, right?
Right. And that's the point, is how does it get off the rails? Like, again, to me, like I said,
It,
seems such a cut and dry case, and people really like to muddy the waters. This even comes back to some other, put your hat on for this one, a comment on one of these places that I saw. They got into how it's going to play out in the trial and all this stuff, but it said, did the McMichaels have probable cause to affect the detention of the suspect? So let's start right there. Did they
yes.
have probable cause to affect the detention of the suspect? Well,
Okay. Well, it's yes and no. And I'll tell you, yes, if certain rules applied, no, if they didn't. We don't know what those rules were because we weren't there. We don't know what the prosecution is withholding. We don't know what the defense is armed with. But if we're talking trespassing with the possibility of maybe a burglary that
property
occurred for a
crime. Yeah.
jogger, I'm saying no.
Okay. Yeah.
They
So
had the right to call. They had the
was
right to follow him at a distance. They had the right to do all of those things, Brian,
yes, and
because they're citizens just like you and me.
right, right,
But they
and that.
escalated it.
Well, here's the thing: is that now, if they would have called police and gotten their cars and followed at a safe distance and
Yep.
reported on his position, I think not only is that within their legal right to do so, but I think that they're
Mr. Arbery be
yeah,
alive.
yeah,
Do you
one
get what I'm trying to say?
yeah.
And we could hear his side. We could have him on the broadcast, Brian. We can never have his side of this case because they took it to an extreme. Would you agree with that? At least that.
Yes, and
Okay.
here's the problem again with, and I've seen this before in some of these other comments. The second Arbery defended himself, he was resisting arrest, whether that arrest was illegal or not.
That's not true.
That's
You have the absolute right
horribly
to resist an illegal
yes.
arrest. You have the absolute right. Just like in the military, you have the absolute right to defy an illegal order. Okay? But that's not what we're talking about. So don't be, we used to call him Barrack's lawyer, Brian. The
Yeah, I
person,
know. I'm one of those. I
I'll
was one
tell
of
you
those
the
in the
other
Marine
prop
Corps.
that I'm going to have. Yeah, I've got the other prop. You know that in the front seat of my truck, right in the center console, is the U.S. Constitution. And if you don't know it, then recuse yourself and sit
Yeah,
down and shut up because what you're saying is ludicrous. Look, if I was going to set this caper up, Brian, and I wanted to win and I was part of the defense, what I would say is this is tantamount to a modern day lynching. And everybody would get behind me and they would go, holy shit, it kind of is, right? Now, if I was on the other side of the fence, Brian, I would say, I have the absolute right to defend my house and my community against criminals like this, especially this guy that I dug all this stuff up and figured out that one time he may have done these other things. Brian, we're not talking about coming eye to eye with somebody in an alley and looking and going, holy shit, this guy used to have a gun. At the previous time I met this guy, I had a fight with him then, and this guy's looking like he's trouble and reaching at his waistband. We have none of that. We're trying to
right.
create that by typing dear hustler, I met
Yeah.
a guy on an elevator. Do you see
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say? This is a fantasy. What the evidence shows is clear and concise. And Brian, it can be put into those ice cube trays that we talk about all the time. But the ice cube tray itself is another part of the equation. And whether it's a sunny day or it's a cold or it's in the fridge or it's on the counter, all matters. So you can't sit there and go, I've read what the journalists report, and therefore I'm going to draw an opinion. That's ludicrous. What we're trying to say is get Dee to some training, get some facts in the case, do your homework. And if you do, you'll agree with us that this doesn't pass the smell test. Had it passed the smell test, Brian, we would have had a different outcome starting in February. You invoked the coronavirus, which I completely agree with. But these two guys weren't worried about the coronavirus with their neighbor when they jumped in the vehicle and
Yeah.
confronted Mr. Arbery, were they?
Yeah,
You see
no,
what I'm
know
trying to say?
exactly.
So
And I was just
come
bringing
on.
up
No,
in
no,
terms of why
I
some things
defend
took
your
long.
right to bring
Yeah.
that up, and I totally agree with you. And
But
I think there's stuff behind the scenes that caused the delay.
but
But
here's
for the governor to have to reach down and say this smelled bad, come on.
oh, I know, and that goes into again, training and education. That's the big thing
Exactly. And doing
anywhere.
your homework.
Yeah, but you're going to get what you pay for, especially when it comes to law enforcement or district attorneys,
Yep.
prosecution, everything. So you don't want
And
to.
there's good and bad. And
Oh
listen,
yeah,
Brian, I want to wave this. I'm not going to wave any fairy dust, but I'll wave this magic wand of reason around. Here's my wand of reason. People make mistakes. People get overwhelmed. There's a lot of capers that are on their desk. People take a look at this caper, and Mr. Arbery was just another name of what they were led to believe was a criminal that was doing a crime that got in a scuffle with a couple of peacekeepers, right? So you don't know what was going on in the mind of those people, so don't presuppose it. But there's good and bad cops, there's good and bad prosecutors, and there's every degree in between. And there's extremists, Brian. There's extreme views that are out there.
Yeah.
What does the law say? The law says we got to try to balance that, and the justice is blind that it's the same for a poor person or a rich person, or a green person and a magenta person. It doesn't flipping
So,
matter.
that's the thing. That's why when people bring up, well, like, they go right, where do they go to? They go right to bang. Oh, this is the event that occurred right here. No, 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 no. Nope. No, 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 no.
That
Look
occur
at every
started
that. Look at
that morning.
yeah. So, because here's the thing: the contributing factors in
Yes.
Mr. Arbery's death were who? Were the two jackasses that decided to follow him and kill him.
They were the proximate cause. You're exactly.
They were
not only the contributing factors, but the proximate cause in his death. So many times, Brian, you and I will break down a case and say, "Hey, listen, you and your actions led to your homicide." It is not one of those cases.
No,
everything that he did was reasonable.
And that's the thing, is you don't get to have it, because then this person,
you can't have it both ways.
The person was trying to argue, saying, oh, well, yeah, whether the detention or arrest of him by these two individuals legal or not, he's not allowed to. Okay, if you're walking down the street, right, and people try to stop you and they have guns and you don't, and in an ensuing fight you kill them, that's their fault. You didn't bring a gun to the fight. They did, right?
Exactly. And so add the other side of that coin. God, I wish I had a big old challenge coin. I'd show the other side just for dramatic crap, because we got props now, I guess. And Brian, the other thing is, it's a property crime. It's a flipping property crime. Kid steals a radio from your car. You come to the porch, turn on the porch light. He starts fleeing. You shoot into the night. And you're saying, well, that never happens. Well, it happened 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And right now it's in the news because the guy shooting said, I didn't do anything wrong. And the kid they found dead at the intersection under the streetlight.
For a property crime.
Property crime. It's for a radio. They were stealing stuff out of the car. A person escalated yesterday a situation. And this is on a Friday, folks. So do your research and look it up on the news. I don't remember which site I was on. A guy had a 16-year-old car. People came to repo it because COVID problems. The guy couldn't pay. A man in his 40s went out and shot 3 people. Shot one and shot at with ADW, assault with a deadly weapon, perhaps with the intent to kill. That'll be later demonstrated by the court, to protect his 16-year-old car, which is being repoed, which repo means they sent you warnings, they told you, they said you. Brian, these capers happen all the time. Folks, stop and think. Give yourself the gift of time and distance. You do not have the right to escalate to a homicide, what would be a property crime, even if it's a felony. The shoe would be on the other foot, Brian, if these two and their neighbor, they witnessed Mr. Arbery killed people at the schoolyard that were swinging. He was now running with an axe toward the church. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Because now they're preventing him from committing another felony.
Exactly. That was on view, meaning they saw it. Even a police officer, a sworn officer under the color of law, may not make an arrest without a warrant. So he has to draft up, after he makes an on-view arrest, he has to write a warrantless affidavit. And he has to go to his supervisor, who has to go to the ADA and say, I arrested this guy because I saw them. And they'll look at it right then and say, okay, you have enough to book him and process him. You get what I'm saying? So if that's the standard for cops, why would the standard be different for these neighbors that allegedly saw a crime in progress?
Well,
I question that.
And that's the thing, is that people are going to say, well, they were simply trying to do this, and then he escalated. No. You were the one. You were the proximate cause. You were the one that said, I'm going to go after this person and intervene. Now, everything that happens, you've got you're partially responsible for that. And if I'm running down the street or walking down the street or doing anything down the street, and 3 guys with guns come out and try to stop me, I'm fighting for my life, because I'm fearing for my life, right? So you can't have it both ways then, when they say, oh, I have an inherent right to defend myself.
Again, the quantum leap of logic. We have this pendulous answer, and wherever you come down on it, Brian, I'm going to come down somewhere else. And I'm going to argue every one of the points that you've got. Now, you can't do that. That's not, look, there's the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. But that argument itself is flawed. What that doesn't mean is you get to decide. That means it's got to go up through the Court of Appeals,
right,
to the Supreme Court,
right,
who will be the arbiter of facts and decide that, yes, this is the right thing. Sorry, I'm still at the office here. I apologize.
Because here's the other thing too, I want this to be clear, because I saw a lot of comments all over the place about people wanting to intervene and do stuff. Is one, you likely have no right to do so. So stop and pick up your phone. That's what you pay
Exactly.
taxes for,
We
and
talk about
that's
that
where it
all the
goes,
time.
right? But two, here's the other thing, because I found this when I was looking up some of the different stand your ground laws in the Georgia state law, because you got to remember they change from state to state, and even sometimes cities or counties will have their own different ordinances. But there was a city council member in Gary, Indiana, Greg, that grabbed the kid because he thought it was the kid who stole his car 2 days prior. Guess
Yep.
what? It wasn't. Guess who got charged with kidnapping? That city council member, because that's what they did. So you
Right.
don't get to take the law into your own hands. You have an inherent right to defend yourself, always, always. But you said
So
it right
here,
there. But I want to reiterate, because
no, I want you to. I want you to.
you said stand your ground law. You said it right there.
Yep.
Stand. I don't have to run away. I don't have to. That's all fine. But that doesn't mean I get to chase someone down and say, hey, you did something bad, I'm going to get you, unless there's some type of immediate threat to that
Exactly.
community.
So how do homicides come from road rage?
Oh,
So
yeah,
somebody cuts me off. I'm pissed now that I got cut off. So I'm going to chase you down, risking everybody and my own safety, which you have no right to do whatsoever. And somebody's going to say, well, I can accelerate to get the license plate. Show me where the law says that you're allowed to. That's horseshit. Okay. You give the best description, be the best witness you can, pull off the road, drive to the closest police station. If you got a geo tracker, use that to find the state police or whatever that's in your jurisdiction, because every move that you make after that is going to unjustly put other people in the trick bag, Brian. So now you witness that shoplifting, and all of a sudden you see the property crime. You try to stop the guy. You even grab out and you grab his sleeve, and he pulls away and he starts running for the front door. Now you got to think, if he runs out and gets hit by a car, dude, you're in the trick bag. You get what I'm trying to say? If he turns around with a box cutter and hits you in the jugular and says Yahtzee, you're in the trick bag. So you constantly have to mitigate risk by measuring the cost-benefit analysis of your actions. Anytime you get one person that goes, damn, I should follow that guy, what do you think happens when they now grab a gun? So you see what I'm saying? Like that barometer, Brian, that thermometer going up. Now, hey, my kid's with me. Now, a neighbor, Jim, what's up? Where you guys headed with that gun? You know, whatever the guy's name is, it wasn't Jim. And they all jump in. Do you see what's happening, Brian? Now that catecholamine cocktail, now all of a sudden the adrenal cortex is pumping, the epinephrine's going all the, and we're convinced now, whoop, tunnel vision is occurring. We're convinced now that this is the do or die, that this is the draw on the line of the sand, that we've got to take some action. People do it all the time. People get the happy head. The next thing that they do is they can't come off the gas and somebody lays dead. Mr. Arbery had the absolute right to defend himself and defend his actions in a court of law. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If he was a flippant criminal, Title 1983, Section 42 of the U.S. Code, he had the absolute right to defend himself in civil court if he was wronged. But these people took Mr. Arbery's civil rights away from him when they killed him. You can't kill somebody for a property crime.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that, you know, I think people are very confused on the law. Especially, I see a lot of people who say read the Constitution, and none of this is
They've
in
never
there.
read it. Yep.
It is, but you have to articulate it through other cases or examples that have been decided and are now statute and are now
case law. Exactly. That's why they call it case law.
Because here's the thing, because like me, I'm all for that, the whole idea of the stand your ground law, or the castle doctrine, which people want to call different. You're in your house and someone comes in there. It's like you just said, hey, you got dealt this card. You didn't deal those cards.
Yep.
You didn't put your finger on the scale. You didn't go out. Someone came to you. You have the inherent right to do whatever you feel that level of force is necessary. Now, there's laws restricting if they start taking off running. You can't chase them. You can't shoot that guy.
If they leave the curtilage, of your dwelling, if they leave your car in the driveway and try to run, all that other stuff, go back in the house, lock your door, wait in the bathroom, sit in the tub, a nice defensive posture with your phone on and your flashlight, and legally defend your family from that safe room. Okay, that's smart thinking. And somebody's going to say, well, I don't have to retreat in my own home. No, but it's a really good strategy.
Yeah, it's a good strategy.
And you know, every time we were in a combat zone, Brian, every time that we were dealing with coppers on the street where lives hang in the balance, you and I always tell them, when the stakes get too high, put an R on the pernal and back out of there. We told them, don't be afraid to haul ass out of a situation, because you'll be alive and you'll be able to get warrants and go after the person. And what do we hear all the time? We hear that tombstone courage. Well, I don't have any duty to retreat. Yeah,
Yeah,
but there's a lot of Silver Star winners and Medal of Honor winners that would have been alive if they would have taken a step
right.
back. And right now, that's insulting somebody's memory because they're saying, well, he died for all these other people. A lot of times you don't have to. A
Yeah,
lot of times there's other things you can do. And praise God for those heroes, Brian. But what we had here is we had citizens that took the law into their own hands. And that's clearly defined that you do not have the right to do that. And they infringed on the civil rights of another
but
citizen that even if he was guilty of that crime, they had no right to
that's
escalate.
how that kind of summarizes the central kind of theme that I see in a lot of these comments, and that people want to bring up what he did or who he was or this issue or
Yep.
that issue, and I don't know. I just think it's maybe just a little bit of an ignorance, and I don't use that term in a negative fashion, right? Like there's a lot of things I'm very ignorant of, and that's okay. But meaning I go to someone for advice or expertise, right? So I think it's a little bit of an ignorance of the law. Yeah, exactly, ignorance of the law, because they say, well, he had this and this was going on and he knew him from previous,
Yeah.
and it doesn't change the circumstances
Nope. Well,
that
do
led
you
to
remember
this,
the
right?
gun that?
Right.
Remember the gun they found on Mr. Arbery? What was the caliber of that
Yeah,
gun?
exactly, there wasn't one.
What was that stick that he was swinging at them guys?
Yeah, it wasn't happening, and
But
and,
remember
and
that
that's
knife he had when they pulled
exactly
that gun?
and
The
that
defense
that's
rests, Your Honor.
that's the thing here, is that a lot of people then say, well, I have this right to do this, and so I should be able to stop him or do that. Look, man, like if I see someone committing a crime, unless they're, someone's beating the crap out of some other human being or killing them in front of me, I'm going to
Yes.
stand back and I'm going to get on my phone and I'm going to eat the popcorn and I'm going to call the police and go, wow, this guy's really, he's really raiding that television out of that house right now. It's
Yeah,
not
look,
my
he's
beat.
going back for
Look,
the
he's
phone.
going
He's
back for
got a
the.
radio.
Oh no, he's still here. He's loading up the van right now. Like
Yep.
there's no need for you to insert your, because I want it to be clear is that once you involve yourself in the situation, meaning you now made a decision, right? That's different than
Any decision.
someone
Yes, I
coming
totally agree.
into your house. You didn't get to decide that. You
Yep.
have to writ that. So that the responsibility is on that person. But once you decide
Precisely.
to insert yourself in that situation, no matter what it is, once you decide to take action beyond what you're legally allowed to do, or even just contribute to the situation, you now are a contributing factor of every spiral that occurs from this, everything.
Brian,
So even if they, let's say, Greg, because let's say it didn't even escalate to this. Let's say they were chasing him in their vehicle, and then
Yep.
he jumped in a vehicle, and now he's running from them, and there's a vehicle pursuit, and Mr. Arbery now is scared because people are chasing him, goes through an intersection and hits a minivan and kills a whole family. Those people chasing him
proximate cause
are the proximate cause of that.
You're exactly
They
right.
are just as responsible as he is. And I don't.
So let me ask you a question. You're a subject matter expert in many fields. You're highly in demand to speak and teach and do all this incredible stuff in the realm of human behavior and human performance. So let me ask you a couple of questions. One, you're at a red light, and all of a sudden somebody yanks your unlocked door open in your car, sticks a gun in your face, and says, "Get out of the car! I'm stealing your car." What do you do?
Yeah, it's yours, buddy.
Yeah, here. Let me adjust the floor mat.
Let me know.
So
I'm
you're
gonna get an even better roof rack on that insurance claim because I'm.
You're stepping out of the theater
Yeah.
where you've just watched, whatever shitty Requiem for Greg's Hat documentary, and you're with your wife and your lovely daughter, and somebody sticks a gun in your face and says, "Give up the cheese."
Here's
What
my
flavor
wallet.
cheese do you want?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Now, somebody right now is taking umbrage to that because their TV show teaches you how to take your
Gun
AR
takeaway.
platform from your Suburban after you've done a 360 power slide backwards. Look, if the best trained people in the world get killed on the road enforcing the laws, you need to take a giant step backwards and look at the big picture and
Right.
say, it's only money. It's only look, somebody's trying to kill or harm CEO of our company. Well, first of all, that would be
Yeah. Good
mistake.
luck.
Come get
Best
some, I
of
should
luck.
say.
I'm gonna
But
sit back and watch that one.
but I would definitely buy pop. No, I would buy popcorn. I would definitely jump in and try to defend a choking baby, a down copper,
Yeah.
something like that. But Brian, there are certain situations where you just by your mere presence can escalate it. And
Oh yeah.
we're the king and queen of de-escalation. I'll be the queen on this. But that's
Thanks.
what we want to do all the time. So why would this case be any different? And I gotta tell you perspective, Brian. Can you indulge me for just a
Yeah.
minute? So there's a couple of coppers, and they're bad coppers, and they're working for an agency where the coppers rotate from on the road to being in dispatch, and then from dispatch they go to the jail. From the
Yeah.
jail they go to the front desk, and they have to do this routinely. So that keeps them in touch with the community. They have to work all aspects of it. But these coppers, they start, saying, "Hey, I'll volunteer for this jail duty." And after a while, a couple of citizen complaints come up, and the citizen complaints come mainly from DUI arrest, drunk driving arrests, where the people said, "I was sure I had more in my wallet. I was sure that I had my Rolodex. I was sure that I had
Yeah.
these things." So now it starts setting a pattern. So we're human behavior, pattern recognition, and then the analysis. So what happens is somebody comes to a HBPRA and A expert and says, "Hey, what would you do in this situation? Because now we've got this ring that's missing and it's worth a lot of money, and we think that it's with this, with these bad coppers." And so the lawyer says, "What would you like to do?" So the idea is, okay, what's the room set up like in the booking area and everything else? Do me a favor, when these guys are off duty, go in there and scour everything. Make sure there's no way that that damn ring fell down below, behind something.
Yeah.
It's stuck to the desk. They took out all of the property cages and the drawers and everything else. They made a production. They videotaped the entire thing under good counsel. And guess what, Brian? There was no ring there. Okay. They put everything back exactly as it was. And the next night that these two coppers were working together, they came up and said, "Here's the booking photo that shows the ring. We think you stole the ring. And before we execute the search warrant at your houses and go and find the ring and look at your bank accounts, we want to ask you, did you do it?" Both coppers said the same thing. They said, "No, we didn't do it. But if you let us look for it, maybe we could find it."
Yeah. Here we
Now,
go.
remember what we know
Yep.
already, Brian.
Yep.
Remember what we know that already
Yeah.
happened. And those coppers went in, and a couple of minutes later, they
Oh,
came
here
out
you
of the
go.
property room and said, "Here, it was behind a chair. I don't care that they stole the ring. I don't care what the ring was worth. And I don't care that they wronged this poor DUI for self gain. When they were caught, they complicated the crime by lying about it. They lied about the entire procedure." So, and I'm not saying I don't care, Brian. What I'm
Yeah.
saying,
No, I know what you mean by
even when
that.
they were caught. Now, these two guys, they never acknowledged, like there was a big story a couple of days ago about how long it's waiting to justice for this and that. How come these two guys didn't sit there with the investigator and said, "Man, what's the defense, the Ron Burgundy defense? Well, that got out of hand
That
right
that
quick."
escalated
You see what I'm
quickly.
trying to
Yeah.
say? My thing was it resulted in the death of this person. It escalated to a level that it shouldn't have been. I would have been the first person to say, "Listen, the situation got the best of me. Next thing I know, we were out there. Probably shouldn't have been there. I see my son in peril. I didn't know what else to do. I certainly didn't want this guy to get the gun, so I had to shoot him." You see what I'm trying to say? Why didn't that story come out? That's what I'm trying to get at with the cop story. When you're caught, Brian, you got to come up and you got to go, "I'm caught."
Mea
That would
culpa.
stop pursuits. That would
Well,
stop all these other
that's
things.
that
Just
we
take
we
your lumps.
we've talked about that in a number of in a number of different ways. We've described the
Yep,
same thing, and some of that I even said with the whole pursuit thing. Well, why don't we make fleeing from the police the most punishable crime?
exactly.
So meaning that would incentivize you to stop. And if you go, hey, if you admit to everything that you have on you, your sentence is reduced, right? Because that would count. It would be a way to go. I
You're
mean,
incentivizing the
now
criminal to do
that's
what's best,
I
even
understand.
though he's a
Yeah,
criminal. I
I
totally
understand
agree.
that's not perfect and that won't
Yep,
always work. But the
yep.
idea is, hey man, do 18 months or get in a police pursuit and maybe kill a bunch of people and go the right. You know what I mean? It's like, well, it's if you change it a little bit, but on this, there's a number of different, people want to turn this message into something that it isn't, or make a case out of
Right.
something that really isn't.
Right.
Um,
The coattails theory. I'm going to
and
jump on this caper and ride it.
which is horrible, because here's what else I saw when I was looking up the case, because there's so much out there on it, is that a lot of the folks in the area who live in that area at first, because what they heard a story, and they were supporting these two jackasses that chased after Mr. Arbery and saying, hey, well, there's other side of you didn't hear the other side, you don't know what happened. And then once everything came to light, they all did what? A lot of those people, guess what they did? Oh shit, my bad.
See
I
ya.
have no
Yep.
idea. Wow, this is very clear cut, and are apologizing, saying, hey, I said this, I'm
Stepping
sorry,
up,
I
taking
didn't
their
know.
lumps.
But that's the thing, is that we want to turn this now into because it's like now we want to turn this into look at everyone in that area. If you're from that area, you're
Yep.
a bad person and you're a racist and you're
I'm
a
afraid to
this.
go in that area because if I jog, you'll kill me.
But
Come on.
what does that do to
It
to
dumbs
the
us all
situation?
down.
It
It
dumbs us down.
endumens Americans.
And I don't think then we get the actual and Mr. Arbery can whose life was taken from him completely illegally and way too soon for no legitimate
Absolutely.
reason. What is his memory now? We're
So,
gonna tarnish it
answer me this.
as this shitty town with
Even
shitty people and shitty
exactly.
prosecutors and shitty cops. Or
You're
do we
spot
learn from
on.
this
You're
and go and
spot
move
on,
on?
Brian.
Because that's
You're
the problem.
you're
It,
spot on. And let me ask you this, Brian. You just said it. This is a young guy. Okay, so he burglarized that house. Mr. Arbery stole items from that house. He fled the scene from the house and fought with those guys. Everything else. What's the max sentence he's going to get?
yeah.
Then he's going to not even going to get parole, Brian. He's going to get probation. He's going to get restitution. Do you get what I'm trying to say? He's going to have to pay, and he's going to be back on the road, loving his kids and his wife and his mother or whoever he's got. Because I don't know Mr. Arbery, and I'm sorry for that. But the idea is that they stopped all of that. They ceased due process. They didn't give him his legal right to stand in his own defense and face his accuser. They deprived of him all that, of all that. And the U.S. Supreme Court and the Congress and the Senate and everybody else, they can't even put somebody to, how long on death row does somebody linger, Brian, before
Yeah.
they pull the switch on something? Because there's appeals. My heartburn with this case, and the reason that I called shit from the very beginning on this
Yeah,
case,
you
Brian,
did.
is the fact that this guy, Mr. Arbery, was not given his rights, criminal or not, crackhead, meth head, fighter, jogger, a model citizen. It does not matter because justice is supposed to be blind, and we're all supposed to get our day in court, and he didn't, and that's wrong. And I feel really bad about this caper because it's emblematic of exactly what you said. Other capers in the United States where, for whatever reason, people try to insinuate themselves into the process just to make themselves look good, whether you're defense or prosecution, whether you're a home defense thing, you don't let this happen to you, or something else. Somebody's already going to come out with a commercial for it. And this is justice gone wrong. And Mr. Arbery should be here on this show right now to defend himself.
No, and that's the thing is that we want to turn this into an example of something else other than what it is just
Something
this.
good come out of it, maybe.
Well, I think a better understanding of the law would be better for everyone and what you can and cannot do. And two, a better look at crime. I mean, whether or not, like, I would just, that's why I go back to, I assume everything that these guys thought about Mr. Arbery was true. Let's just assume it to be true for the purposes of testing a
For an argument.
hypothesis,
Yep.
right? Just, okay, he was in there stealing, he was doing this. Like, none of their actions are still not justified. None of them. Like, they're none of them. It's so to me, it's stop right there. It's over. The case is over. Like, you're done. Like, you clearly went well beyond.
But you're also an expert and understand that the case has to progress through the system, and that the the guys that chased down Mr. Arbery, won't mention their names, that don't even know their names. But the idea is they've got rights too.
Yes.
So I will violently protect their rights, even though opinion-based testimony, I think they're wrong, and I think they went down a wrong path, and I think they made mistake after mistake to complicate it. But let them get through the legal system, folks.
Yeah.
I do not think that they sat around that day and said,
no. And
next effing jogger that comes into town, we're going to come on.
Or we're getting Arbery,
one way
or
we've
the
wanted
other.
him for 20 years.
It's and that's the thing is that
good point.
Because this is where it comes in too. Like you just brought up, okay, they have rights as well.
Yep.
And we want to, again, every people fear things that we don't understand. And most people, is judging by comments and articles written by educated journalists, most people don't even understand the law very well. And I thought I had a rudimentary understanding of the law until I start reading people's comments and I go, oh, wow, I actually know a lot more than most people on here, right? I'm not a lawyer. I was never in law enforcement. Well, I've been on both sides of law enforcement, I guess.
Meaning in the back seat versus the front seat.
I've been on both sides, but the idea is, they have rights to, like you said, and then we like to say, oh, well, this is, you know what, this shows this is a a much deeper issue than we thought.
Yep.
And this is systemic racism on the part of the, and then you look at these guys and you read about them and you look at their photos and you're like, you're getting all of that from these two. This is, and I don't feel,
It's a long
I
list
almost
that
feel
goes back to
partially,
this case.
I
Come
almost
on.
feel partially sympathetic for these people, not sympathetic for the people that killed them, just meaning like, you they didn't have any intent that day to kill someone or him. This
Right.
is a low level of education and training, and probably not the best decision making and not the best critical thinking. That's human performance, right? That's what they lacked. They lacked any type of critical thinking ability and
Totally
play the
agree.
what if game. So let's take it for that. Maybe the initial people involved with the case at the local, district attorney or whatever said the same thing. If they were coming out defending him, saying, "Hey, no, it's justifiable, it's this," same thing. That's what they lacked, right? So that's answer to that is not a. This is a systemic problem we have in this country, in
No,
this area.
it's
This is
let's
training
get
and
more
education.
training. Right, right. So,
That's what I'm
so
saying.
Brian, what would have happened? And you're exactly right. That is the central point, the focus of this entire broadcast. Let me ask you this, Brian. If they, without jumping in the truck and chasing down Mr. Arbery, if they would have called 911 and got the dispatch center and said, "Hey, we grabbed a bunch of guns and we're jumping in our truck. We think we have a burglary suspect
Right.
running down the street," what would dispatch have told them? Stop.
They would have said, yeah. Well, they
Put
should
your
have,
guns
yeah.
away. The officers are on their way. Give me the description. There's no dispatch console in the world that would have said, "You go after him and you stay in
Get
touch.
them.
Keep your
Yeah.
phone. Make sure you take a shotgun, a scatter gun, just in case." So the quantum leaps of
I'll,
logic, folks, you're not, listen, without training, you're going to do exactly what these folks did on both sides. You're going to fight and you're going to run and you're going
so
to shoot and you're going to be unhappy and you're going to be in court. Take the gift of time and
well,
distance. Go get yourself some training. It's much cheaper than buying a lawyer.
I don't even know how I literally did not even just think of this. I have a personal example.
Please.
I don't even know how, probably brain damage is why I didn't think of it, but partially from the wreck. But
Yeah,
no, I was sitting at a stoplight here in Carlton. This is a few years ago in my truck, and then literally sitting at the stoplight is probably like 8 o'clock at night. It was already fully dark out. It was like winter time here. It's not cool or something, but I'm just saying it's dark early, so it was dark out at 8, and then all of a sudden,
what was the lighting condition like,
yeah.
Brian? Here's that brain damage coming, folks.
So then all of a sudden, literally just bam, someone just slams right into the back of my truck. And I'm just like, I get knocked forward and it's like, oh crap. So I first, 5s and 25, scan my area, put the truck in park. As soon as I open the door and take one step out to go back to what happened, they were already reversing out and then we're taking off. What was my first instinct? I jumped
Get him.
right in my truck and
Get him.
and it was on. So I'm in the truck. I got the Bluetooth going. Immediately call 911. Right. So I'm calling them, explaining what happened, and it's this road that is parallels the 5. Right. So it's not like it's almost like a service road, but it's not. But the 5 is on one side, and then it goes residential on the other. So there's not a lot of cross streets, and there's
Yeah.
not a lot of stop signs. Right. And so I'm like, shit, this guy's flying. So I get on the gas a little bit. I'm trying to keep up, and I'm telling them where I'm at and where I'm going, and I'm calling it in as I go. And then right in front of me, guess what they did? They barely slowed down and blew right through a 4-way intersection.
Holy Moses.
And that was it right there. I stopped and went, nope. Like this is now, but it took a minute.
Don't turn this
Yep.
pursuit into a homicide.
Now, from the time I took off to the time from them was only about a mile or
Yeah.
possibly less before it hit me that I went, oh shit, what am I doing here? I can't chase these guys. Like, what if they kill someone? I literally went,
right.
What if they kill someone? What if they kill a family? Like, I'm like, that's on me then. So I had to stop. I went back to the gas station that was right next to where I got hit and waited for the police. But same thing. Like, it took me that minute to go, no, this is a really, really bad idea. Because our first natural instinct is get them, right? I got this. But that too was also someone hit me in my vehicle sitting there. They didn't hit another car and take off running. I don't know if I would have chased them right away,
So opposite side of that, I'm up at Roseville, and there's a place in Roseville, Michigan, that was known for underage service, and I made mistakes as a youth. And so cops are raiding the joint, and the cops are chasing me. So I'm going through backyards. After about the third fence and backyard, I hit a clothesline. Kids out there, you don't know what a clothesline is. Do your research. Go study your history. Clothesline completely just clotheslined me, and like a linebacker took me out of the game. My feet came up. I remember seeing my shoelaces, and I was down and out in Beverly Hills. Coppers kept chasing everybody, never found me. I woke up probably 15, 18 minutes later with lockjaw and
Yeah.
all messed up because I was, second year in high school. And for the remainder of that month while I was hurting, I blamed the cops. And finally, my dad sat down and goes, I'm going to beat you. But
Yeah.
before I do, I want to make sure you understand why. You were the proximate cause of everything that happened that night. You
Yeah.
made those choices that spun out of control. It's your fault that you got in those situations. Brian, I would have never considered it that way. And I got the beating of my life. My dad, 1st Marine
Yeah.
Division Raider Battalion, doing the, Clarice Starling. But the idea was that, Brian, he straightened me out on it. He straightened me out that, wait a minute, sometimes, your safety and security is your responsibility. So even if we went by that, back to the Arbery case, what right did they have to intervene on the behalf of another homeowner to do anything more than be the best witnesses that they could? The cops in your neighborhood are great. Do a ride along, ask them the questions, go to your prosecutor's office, hold people accountable. But for the love of God, get out there and study, get some training so
Well,
that you'll at least have an informed opinion
but
when you
then
get
what
into
is
this
it,
shit.
and then why do people want to do that too? Like the one comment I read about the guy's like, oh, I know if there's someone shows up in my place, I'm going to shoot them, no questions asked, or if this
Because
happens,
that's, Brian, it's a
but
primitive instinct.
but
Yeah.
here's the thing: how can you even make the argument that, well, if they tried to detain him, whether that detention was legal or not, and then he got their weapon, they were
So it's
probably in fear.
bravado.
They were in fear for their life. Now they have the inherent right to defend themselves.
Brian,
They're going like you're
Brian,
playing like there's the poop and cat.
confirmation bias comes out, and confirmation bias says, stop, look, listen. You got to give yourself the gift of time and distance on this one, Marin, because I'm telling you, in the moment, you're all amped up. And look, every single thing that's happened in your life to the most extreme, your neighbor, broke into your chicken coop, your daughter or son attempted suicide, this happened, that happened. Time heals all wounds. And even though you'll remember that for the rest of your life, I'm telling you that if these guys right now, if I could interview any of those guys that are involved in the Arbery case right now, you know what they would be telling me? They're not going to show that bravado and go, yeah, I did my right and all this other stuff. They're going to go, damn, if I could take that back, I would have never got involved in this situation in the first place. So if we know that almost everybody involved in a similar situation comes to that reasonable conclusion, let's come to it first. What good did they serve to the rest of society? What thing did they stop that was
Yeah.
in motion? Do you see what I'm trying to say? This
Yeah.
wasn't stopping a body bomber. This
Yeah.
one, and Brian, I'm gonna say this, and again, I'm gonna get enemies for it. They were bullies. They were bullies. They
Yeah.
wanted their say and their way. What do we
Right.
know about that? Every time we see a situation where that's true, something spins out of control. Look how swollen I am. Something spins out of control and goes ugly and goes sideways. And you don't have that right. You, sir, do not have that right. And for the greater good of society and community, get yourself some education and training, and you won't do that. Go to your cops and say, what would you do in this situation? Let them tell you. And unless there's some untrained hick from the middle of nowhere that doesn't have some sort of training program, I think they're going to agree with this on this one, Brian.
Yeah, and but the narrative gets painted in a different way. I mean, there is of course,
Because of social media,
yeah,
is
and
different now than it was a long time ago.
but that's what our issue and is usually with these cases is that people do, they sensationalize them, or
Spin it.
they spin it how they want
Yep.
it, and they
Yep.
don't stick to the facts of the case. And so
We're
typically,
both guilty of that. We're both guilty of that. That's called confirmation bias.
right.
You jade your own view because of your ego system. But listen, at least we only do it with opinion-based testimony. We don't do it to conceal what appears to be a crime.
Well, that's the other thing too, is that why I don't even know how to phrase this, but like, so typically in a lot of these cases, whether, especially if it's like a officer involved shooting or what becomes an unjustified shooting,
Yep.
we're usually the ones going, well, yes, legally maybe whatever that's whatever the ruling was, but here's what happened. It's a lot more complicated than you think.
There's
Usually,
electrochemical,
but
neurotransmitters. There's
for
psychological.
most cases, we're the ones saying, hey, there's a lot more at play here. Here's what was going on in this person's head. Here's what they thought, and this led them to believe this, which seems unreasonable now, but given the circumstances, was very reasonable. I can't find that in this case. I can't find the point where they go, hey, well, you didn't see it because in their situation, this was what I'm saying? Normally we're the ones who can deconstruct that and at least explain and go, look, how this is likely occurred, and this is why. It's
So
more complicated. This one, I just don't see it.
you're right on. And here, let's go on the record. We'll be the first one, folks. Look it up. We'll be the first ones to quote this because we quote a bunch of stuff and then it happens. But there's 3 people watching, so they never listen. Tennessee versus Garner, Brian. What's the difference here? All of a sudden, you've got in Tennessee versus Garner, you got an abandoned building site that was being stripped for copper and metal that people were taking out to do something with, and a young kid gets caught by 2 coppers at the scene. He flees, tries to jump a fence. One of the coppers shoots at a fleeing felon and accidentally hits him as he's going over the fence and kills him, accidentally or intentionally. I don't care. You read the case, read into it. And that was deemed by every court in the land to be the new use of force standard. But now it seems that all these pundits have forgotten this case, and they're
Right.
trying to say, well, theoretically, if you take a look at this, it's horseshit. It's like math or it's science. I don't have to go to Japan and learn the Japanese law of math, and I don't have to go to Germany and learn the German law of gravity. This is a simple caper, and I hate to use the term cut and dried, but I will tell you this, Brian. Your observation was absolutely true. The physical and psychological and social events that were going on in the head of those 3 guys at the time contributed to them continuing the pursuit and grabbing the guns and wrestling with the guy. Had it been just one guy, I think it would have been different. Had dad and son not been there, I think it was different. And so doing, we must understand that human performance is such that when the snowball starts going downhill, it's almost impossible to stop, just like rage has to run its course. So had they inhibited themselves through training and education of
Yeah.
not getting in the truck in the first place, of not going and unlocking the gun cabinet, of instead dialing 911, Mr. Arbery had been alive to defend himself, these folks wouldn't be in jail right now. We would not even be discussing this situation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and well, it ties into our blanket, statement that we always like to use, is that the lower your training or education or experience, the higher or the more likely you're going to
Use the
escalate the
level of violence
situation,
not commensurate. You're exactly right.
escalate the level of violence, escalate the situation,
Yep.
or overreact to the
Yes.
situation, because this is an
Absolutely
extreme
true.
overreaction to what was something very small. And but I see that attitude permeate in other places to people that you wouldn't think that, meaning a lot of folks again who are like, hey, well, I have the right to do this, I have the right to do that, and sometimes they are correct, meaning, yeah, you have the right to own a gun, or you have the right to protect your home, or you have the but there's
Yep.
limitations there, very, very clear legal limitations.
So there's a cop right now, and Brian, you and I briefly discussed this in passing. There's a cop right now that got fired from his job because he went on a rant. He has the absolute right, First Amendment right, to say his piece anytime. Your words are protected, folks. You got the right to go up there. You got the right to protest. It's called redress. Look in your Constitution. You got the right to do it. But certain rules apply. Brian, he was in the uniform of the agency that swore him in as a police officer in his marked police car when he put that stuff up there. He doesn't have that right. He has the
Yeah.
right to say whatever he wants to do. But look, dude, you're on duty. You're getting paid by a company, and
Yeah.
it just happens to be a police force to do something. So there are certain rules and regulations that are in place that our legal experts have put there because we voted them into Congress and into government to make those laws. They're the lawmakers for a reason. And those laws are on the books and have been, Brian, in our best interest. And guess what? If you don't like the law, Georgia, if you don't like the law, change the law.
Yeah,
You
change
get
the
what I'm
law.
trying to say?
Yeah.
Don't put somebody in prison and don't kill a jogger. And I'm not bashing Georgia. We love Georgia.
No,
Spent a
I go
lot of
to
time
well,
there.
that's the thing.
So
I've
it's
spent a
the
ton of
case.
time in Georgia, especially not far from where this occurred. And
Yeah.
so it's
Well,
like,
both of us love Georgia.
but same thing. What does everyone want to do? Oh, it's the dumb Southerners or something. And it's like you're applying the same ignorant logic that
Stop.
these 2 people apply. They applied the same ignorant logic that killed someone, and now you're going to use that same way of thinking to go after everyone in that area or that neighborhood. So that's the part that gets conflated. And I know we try to
I totally
we try
agree.
to stay out of that because there's enough junk clickbait crap out there for people to read, like, oh, this is
Exactly.
not, and that's fine. We're just going to try to obviously stick to the facts of the case and what's legal, moral, ethical, and what you can
Scientific.
prove, and
Exactly.
scientifically what you can actually validate and prove. And that's, I know some folks are kind of like talking about that, and that's the big idea, is that it gets reported as, two white men kill a black man, all this. And I'm going, well, it doesn't, none of that matters. Just look at the facts of the case.
Absent that,
This was,
the facts of the case stand true.
this is my, there's no way it doesn't interchange whatever color skin you want. The case is what it is.
Want to touch it.
It was absolutely wrong. And I think the problem is when you do that, my issue is with it, it's looking through one straw, right? You're looking through one lens, and you're going to see everything through that one lens.
And now you diminish the memory of Mr. Arbery.
Absolutely.
Because he had a life and he had a family and he made mistakes and I made mistakes.
And it gets to, well, we're just chalk it up to this one. Let's put that file on this one on the shelf.
True.
And it's like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. There's so much more to learn here, and this is a great example of a number of things. But you're just gonna throw it over into this category, a bunch of dumb rednecks doing. So it's like, come on, that's stupid.
That's as bad. That's as bad as playing the race card. Playing the
uneducated
it's the same thing with a gun and a bit. Yeah. It's the same thing. So Fulton County, Georgia, one of our favorite places that we spend a lot of time in. Fannie Willis is running for district attorney down there, Brian, and I'm her only vote from Colorado. And you know what I say about voting, folks? Vote early and vote often. So for your officials, Brian, this is going to give a whole bunch of people a black eye for a long time, and it's not fair to anybody. And this is not good justice. So you know what? Come clean. I'll tell you right now. If I was a chief copper down there, I would add my PLI, public information officer, rather come out and say, mea culpa, baby.
How many units, agencies, organizations have we told, hey, you're going to want to get in front of this. Hey, you're going to want to have a clear message, and you're going to want to say this,
pay for it later.
And they go, well, no, we got to protect. Yeah, this isn't going to go well. And then how does it go? It goes well. Like it's that of course the being open and honest is very difficult. It blows. It
does. But guess what? Listen, it's over right then, though. Okay, it's not like this from Dr. Schmidt after face screwing me with all of this damage. It's over just then. Look. Somebody once said, "Hey, I'm cheating on my old lady. I think she's on to me. This, that, and the other. What should I do?" And I said, one, don't cheat on your spouse. If you don't love them anymore, go get somebody else. Tell them and walk away. Okay. Yeah. I said the second thing is, if you think that person is on you owe them for all the great things they did and your kids and everything else to go up and go, mea culpa, I screwed up. And they go, yeah, but I got a lot to lose. What do you mean? Yeah, but you got a lot to lose. You don't get to come up there and benefit when you've done something wrong. When you've done something wrong, you drop to your knees, you ask God for forgiveness, and you walk in and you ask your fellow man for forgiveness, Brian. And this is that case. This is a simple case of right and wrong. They made a mistake. If they would go right now, I made a mistake, we didn't have that right, it'll be manslaughter. And guess what? They'll probably not do jail time at all. They might not be able to hunt in Georgia anymore, and it's not going to bring Mr. Arbery back, but it's a better than, Brian, what they're going to face on this case, and especially when the news media gets behind him and paints him as a bunch of racist assholes.
Yeah, and again, this gets into why this is a good example too, is like, I don't care what your ideology is, right?
Yes.
Maybe because totally let's take it from that lens. Like maybe they hate people because based on the amount of melanin in their skin. Now, to me, that sounds ignorant and unscientific and just odd way to look at things. But hey, if that's your thing, that's fine. I care about your behavior. And that's why it's so clear here what their behavior was so wrong and illegal and shouldn't have been. So if we stick to that, I think it makes the issue clear, and it doesn't confuse it, and it doesn't make us it's less likely that we're then going to paint the entire area as, oh, you're
exactly.
all
So
just look at what you
anybody on the
everyone
fence
from that neighborhood is a bad person.
Anybody on the fence, I want you to change the time of day. Now let's put it later in the afternoon when your kids are coming home from school, not during a COVID pandemic. Now these guys are out there racing around your neighborhood trying to confront this alleged burglary suspect with guns. The stakes are too high. My kids play in that neighborhood. You don't have the right. Now, change it to Sunday in the middle of the afternoon when I'm on my way to church with Shelly or coming back, and we are going to meet Nico and Bailey in the park to have a picnic. You don't have that right. There's a whole lot of things that you took for granted that you don't have the right to do in that situation. And right now somebody's yelling at the screen going, yeah, but Arbery didn't have the right to go to what? A building under construction and steal what? Do you
Look,
see what I'm saying? It doesn't weigh, Brian.
well,
Doesn't weigh.
that's the thing, and that's why I brought it up earlier. Okay, assume all of that to be true.
You're
Let's say he
exactly
was
right.
in there casing for
And
a
he'd done it
upcoming
before.
brief, and he'd
And
done it
he'd
before.
done it and been convicted of it.
Doesn't like that's the thing. It
Doesn't change the math.
doesn't matter. It doesn't. You don't get to do this. You don't get to.
Yep.
We can't have people in the, which is funny because the same people who are saying, well, no, they did the right thing, are the same people saying are screaming, hey, we need law and order in this country. It's like, well, wait a minute. You don't. That doesn't mean
So,
take it in your own hands.
so
That
I
means,
smoked for 40 years and I get lung cancer, but I sue the tobacco industry.
yeah,
I
exactly,
got into a
exactly.
DUI and plowed into a school bus. So,
That bus shouldn't have been there.
Jack
Or
Daniel, I'm going to
the
sue you and sue the school
with the
district.
bar. Well, that was
Quantum leap of logic.
that was the
Stop it.
oh hey, that's the bartender's in trouble now
There you
because
go.
they overserved you. Like you get the
Why? Because we have a long history of not taking responsibility for our actions, Brian. We're humans, so there must have been some other cause, some other reason that we acted in this manner at this time. And this is one where I'm telling you, walk up to the mic, tap the mic, is this
yeah.
thing on?
No.
And mea culpa, baby. I
Yeah, but
did it.
people don't want to hear that. Even people want something more. That's not enough
Well,
for
then they don't
the
want to
people on
hire
the other
us.
side. Well, no. I mean, meaning even sometimes the people receiving
No,
the
I'm
message,
with you. But what I'm
like,
trying to say
yeah,
is you said it earlier, and I'll die for those words. I'll die for the U.S. Constitution. I'll die for your right to have free speech. And when it
yeah,
comes to legal, moral, and ethical, look, we both took the pledge, Brian. Do you get what
yeah.
I'm trying to say? That we would
You,
protect our government and our U.S. Constitution and our soil against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know that this is a perfect case of it. We as a country should be constantly vigilant for situations like this and speak out and say this is wrong. We shouldn't let it percolate since February
yeah.
and then hurt so many people
Well,
in the
and I know a lot of it didn't come to attention because the video hadn't been out yet. You know what I'm
yeah
saying? And
yeah
so once that went out, obviously since that
yeah. But
occurred, I'm
I'm
meaning
saying that
then
it
the action was
smells.
immediate.
It smells because in terms of a timeline, it kind of feels, whether it's right or wrong, it feels like they didn't do much. And
Oh
if it
yeah,
was
no,
another
they
more
didn't.
hyper, you see what I'm trying to
And
say? So
there's a lot of factors for why, and people are to make excuses, and then this, that, and the other thing, and they maybe
yep,
tried to sweep it under the rug or think, oh, let's not look
it'll
into
go
this as
away. We'll
much,
look the other
which is
way.
absolutely insane. Because well, when the video of him going into this house under construction came out, and it popped up, and I started watching it, I'm like, all right, at what point does he start like? I mean, beating someone or like hiding a
Pockets filled,
gun or
carrying
dumping blood.
backpacks. Yeah,
Like what's going on here? This guy walked in. I go, I've done that as a little kid. Construction sites were always cool because it was cool. And then as an older
statute
kid,
of limitations stuff.
maybe I could find stuff
Statute of
that I
limitations.
want. All right. So,
I'm just saying,
but
as your
that's
legal counsel.
yeah,
No,
but
no,
that
Brian. Do you remember that companion case? And when I say companion case, I'm talking in similarity. Do you remember the copper makes a traffic stop? Everything was wrong with that guy in the car. The guy had warrants. The
yeah,
license was suspended. The plates were fictitious. All this
yeah,
other stuff. And the guy fled. And the copper chased him and gunned him down. The copper wrote a report saying, "Hey, this guy fought with me. I tased him. It didn't work. All that other stuff." Subsequently, a video came out, exonerated the poor guy that's now the decedent that died for no reason. And the copper was in the trick bag. Had the copper say, "I don't know what happened. It got the best of me. I just shot. I didn't think he would be out today with his family. The guy would still be dead, but it was the truth. It was a mistake. He shouldn't have escalated. But that's what we're doing here. We're sitting here now after the fact, and we're trying to recreate it in a
yeah,
lens that pleases more people. And my thing is, don't do that. Don't change the caper and change the perspective to suit your silly needs. Let's look at what the truth is. Let's look at the science. Let's compare it to the law, which we all uphold and choose to believe in, because without the law, we're nothing. And let's put these guys in jail. They need to go to jail, and that'll send a clear message to anybody else that this situation got to look. Let me throw this in, Brian. Do you think those guys ever went to the gun range? Do you think they ever rehearsed on the gun? Do you think they ever took lessons on shooting? I bet they did all of that.
yeah.
But what de-escalation lesson did they take?
Well,
What time did they sit around and say, if this occurred, practical application, if this occurs, what would we do? Dad, what are we going to do? Are we going to chase a guy or call 911? If you don't do that with your son and your family, you're asking for trouble.
Well, no, and this gets right into the lack of education and training is what most of these situations come down to, specifically training, which is obviously distinct
Number
and
one with a
different.
bullet. No pun intended.
distinct and different with education, and
Yep.
I think that should be the larger issue. Like, all of these cases shouldn't come down to, I hate how it just gets come down to it's a racial thing. This
But
is
that's
a
easy.
well,
It's
that's
like
what I'm
being
saying.
the
Like, fuck you
assistant
for taking the
crackhead.
simple route. Like, you want to take the, like, that's such a,
But let's
oh, we're
hold them
just gonna do
accountable.
this.
We voted them
Like,
in. Let's vote them out.
let's just look through a straw. This is how I'm going to see the world, right? And what it
Right.
should be is a bigger discussion on, okay, what do we want as what, who do we want
What's a
handling these?
minimum level of competency for that
Yes.
position? Totally agree.
Who exactly? It's what do we want as, and even bigger than that too. But like, what do we want as, what should a police force or police in our country be? What do we want? Because that engages community, engagement, and say, hey, what do we want that to look like? How do we get there? What level of training and competency and skills do we want to? Should you be 30 years old before you get to go be a police officer? Should you? You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
You get what I'm
I
saying?
agree with that.
But
And I say an ancillary issue, Brian, to that would be what did these agencies do since February in the community? I'd have had a town hall that night. I'd have had a town hall the next day, and every church I would have been there on Sunday saying, listen, folks, I'm not going to talk about the Arbery case because it's in progress, but I will tell you this. You do not have the right to defend yourself in this manner in this time. I would have laid it out for folks because, Brian, you said ignorance is a problem, and we are all ignorant on certain factors, but ignorance of the law is no defense. So educate yourself. And if you can't educate yourself, find out. There's some damn commercial with Jay Leno on about some company defending his computer, and he's sitting there. It's real hard. Jay Leno, the quadra-billionaire, with all his cars in his museum behind him, and he says, "Hey, if something goes wrong with the Bentley, I call a Bentley expert. If something goes wrong with the whatever the cars, I don't know shit about cars except they're made in Detroit. But if something goes wrong, I get the transmission expert. So for my computer, I'll get the expert." Well, I would admonish everybody that's in the audience that's listening to us today, if you don't believe us, go educate yourself on the law. Talk to 3 different political analysts or legal analysts on it, and then come back and you can say you're sorry in an email. We'll take it. Brian, this is a clear-cut case where these guys exceeded the rule of law, and they didn't have the training or the judgment or the experience for the situation they got into, and therefore it escalated out of control. They weren't educated, they weren't trained, and therefore they used a greater degree of violence rather than de-escalation.
And that goes into there's a lot, and we always simplify it as training education, right? The higher your level of training education, the less likely you are to
you're going to
use
get in a trick
force,
bag.
and the less likely you are to escalate a situation. Now, specifically what that training and stuff is, we would get into, but no, I think those are the important takeaways to me.
I think so.
I wish that people could not paint just a picture, on both sides do this, right? So someone will say, oh, this is just a bunch of dumb racist hillbillies. Look, this is a systemic problem.
They're going to say that about us. Brian, they're going to say that about us.
Yeah,
They're going to say, because you and I are white, we can't vote on this.
Well,
they're going to say because you and I were military and police, that we don't have a vote.
Yeah,
and that's not the way America works, folks.
Yeah.
That's not the way it works.
No, it's because the problem is
all the same.
That gets into now people who do have an influence, people who do have a say, but have no fucking expertise or background. Their comments, the Greta Thunberg issue, who she's now evenly weighted with some climate now.
Yeah, so the climate out, they're having a huge conference, and she's one of the speakers. So she's up there with all these other experts. Why? Because of her notoriety. And remember, that's pop culture. That's not science.
And
for
it's
the
not.
love of God,
it's not.
What is she going to talk about? Acne? You know what I'm saying? Her experiences with acne in Finland or wherever when she went with the boat and she got done.
So So
kiss my ass, Greta Thunberg, and vote for Fannie Willis. Brian, that's my central message today.
Yeah, but that's exactly it. Is we people want to play to the emotion and not stick to the facts and stick to the science. And if you're going to play to the emotion, then that's what you're going to get. Then guess what? Guess what type of legislation you're going to get?
Reap the whirlwind, baby.
Emotional legislation, and then people are going to get pissed about that, and they're going to overreact to that. And this poor Mr. Arbery, like, this is going to be his legacy. This is now
cannot be.
Well, this is no. We'll continue to tell the story the right way, just like we did with Amadou Diallo and
Exactly.
all those people, right? If you tell the story the right way, and then their memory and the lessons learned live on. But that's the
Every
whole
year we'll
point.
talk about it.
Is we're going to take away and continue talking about this the way it should be, not the way it's being discussed right now. It's unbelievable the comments that
Time,
come out
distance.
that are just so uninformed, and that, oh well, I think it should have been this. And I think it's like, what are you coming with? What case law are you referencing with this? What previous example?
Yep.
What legal precedent are you using to base your argument on? Oh, none. This is just, you made shit up. Like any idiot can do that. We got to stop with that.
But that's Brian. You're so spot on. Okay. So every person with a camera is a journalist.
Yeah.
Every person with Twitter, with an account on Instagram, is a journalist. Shut up. Every once in a while, take a good dose of shut the F up and take a seat back. And you know what, folks? You're saying, so what gives you the right to talk on this? Because I'm a subject matter expert in this.
How many
investigations
have you been a part of?
Yeah,
how many times have you been called as an expert witness? How many times?
And you know what we're not doing though, Brian? You know what we're not doing? We're not Instagramming so bad, yo. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And just and you know why Brian's laughing, folks? I have no idea what Instagram is. So is that how you do it?
Our buddy Walt is following along in the Facebook live stream right now, and he's just asked. He's like, "Hey, where are you gonna get Greg on Instagram so I can tag him and stuff?" And I'm like, "Never."
I don't even know what it is. Ever. I don't even know what computer program I need.
Okay, so the closest thing you have to social media is, go ahead and hold it up because you just got it.
My phone.
No. Your poop emoji. This is the closest thing. This is the closest thing you have.
Yeah, but I didn't even get this. Nico got this for me because Shelly and I, this was one of our costumes from many years ago, so I had to dig it out, you know? No, first of all, love Walt. Everybody get to his show. He's got a great podcast. And thanks for you guys on Facebook that are streaming us live. First of all, Arcadia has a Facebook account. Never been there because I don't do Facebook. Brian's constantly on, what is it, Grindr, Tinder, Instagram, all these other sites. And Brian keeps telling me when the bill's there for the company credit card, and I see all these strange destinations in the Philippines and stuff. And he goes, no, it's all marketing, right?
Marketing. It's
social media account.
It's guerrilla marketing.
I have no idea. As a matter of fact, right now, when he says that we're going out live, I have no idea.
No idea. Yeah. So no, I think that's kind of.
But it is Friday. I know that much.
I don't want to turn this into another. You know what grinds my gears? But that's what these devolve into, right? You can only.
That and alcohol for the love of God.
Yeah, that you can only hit the facts of the case for so long, and when people want to argue these extraneous arguments that have nothing to do with the situation that occurred, that's when it muddies the waters. But what you do when you do that is you muddy the waters for everyone. So even for your own side, or
project that forward.
Yeah.
Longitudinally, you muddy the waters for a good long time, 6 months, 8 months, 6 years, because everybody will go back to this case. Like there's 3 or 4 cases out there. I'm not even going to say them on the air, but there's 3 or 4 cases out there that anytime something happens, everybody goes, "Oh, that's just like the so-and-so case," and then everybody harumps and slaps their table. Kiss our collective asses. It's not true.
And that's how you get Richard Jewell. You know.
Wow, great tie-in, Marin.
Yeah.
That was good.
So I mean, it's another one of these guys.
Anytime you're saying that, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Remember, everyone deployed. Marin, I want to let our viewers know that when they write a question that we answer on the air, I hand sew these. I will send you one that you can use. So, and I got a little piece of metal in there for your notes.
Walt wants us to get bobbleheads made and put them on the site to order bobbleheads.
That's hilarious. By the way,
but your bobblehead would fall over because the head would be so big.
Thanks. Right? Thanks. We had to go there. No, I'm like the old. I'm like a panda bear. I'm big all over. So I got a big round head and a big round middle section. So I'm not going to fall. I'm like a weeble. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. I'm glad to hear that Walt's listening because that guarantees me that there's 3 people on our list now. You, me, and Walt. So God bless you and all the folks in Texas. Walt, you got to know we love Dallas. We were on
ABC,
Dallas yesterday.
WFAA had us do a thing for their folks. So get in touch with them too. All right, I think that's probably, before it continues us
I'm at
ranting
about a
versus
2-3 now, so yeah,
yeah,
we might as
yeah, we
well
should probably before
bring this in for a landing.
before the next margarita gets made. Anyway, so everyone
Oh,
listen, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on all the social media. Hit the like button, share it with your friends if you like it. If you don't like it, always remember you can exercise the fact that you don't have to say anything. That's always an option. De-escalation. So if you don't like
and
it,
and you can vote against us by hitting like.
yes. So appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Have a
Don't
great
forget
weekend,
to
everybody.
check the link in the episode details when this gets published. Check out our Facebook. We've got our live webinar series that we're still running for free for now.
Every
So
Wednesday.
hop on. Don't forget that training changes behavior.